Today on my channel I will make a presentation that I would hope you would like. In the past, when it came to discuss the history of the Gallas, all references started with the writings of Abba Bahiri. Often this Abba Bahiri is only known as a monk who wrote about the invasion of Ethiopia by Gallas. The title of his writing was called Zinahula Galla. Well, today you will finally find out who this Abba Bahiri is. You will also find out who killed the famous Emperor Fasiledas of Ethiopia. Enjoy the ride into Ethiopian history. Chapter 46. And after the end of winter, in the Mez of Tekemt, there was great agitation in all counties of the kingdom, and heard if that Karayu all went down to Tigra, and Marawa went out to Begameder, and that Atu and Boran wanted to do war on Gojam. The king arose in haste, and went out to Begameder, for it was the middle place of Tigris and Gojam, and he encamped in a land, which was called East, and Ali remained until the middle of the month of Tassas. And as the Marawa ceased to go out to Begameder, the king returned to go down to Tigra, and spent the feast of the birth in Shama Masabia. And after this he came to the land of Emphraz, and encamped in King Jacob's Katama, which was called Dobit, and there he assembled all his counselors, and the great men of the kingdom, and the elders of the people, and the king cried tears bitter because of the devastation of Tegar by the hand of the Galla, and said to them, Decide about the way, which we will descend to Tigra. And all his advisers, they answered him with a heart and a mouth, like a man's, and said to him, O king, our lord, it is not possible for us to go down to Tigra. If we go down the path of Wagon Abargale, there is not enough herb for beasts, and there is no water good for men and horses, much less will it satisfy us soldiers. Those of the king, if he does not quench the donkeys of the merchants. And if we go down the path of Lamalmo, the Galla will not be found, because his way is remote, and he will go to his region taking his prey. It is better for us to go back and help Gojam than to lose 2 provinces. And the king, having heard these things from the words of the advisers, returned to go to Gojam, and spent the feast of baptism in the river of Gumara, border of the land of Darha and of Wedo. And after this he passed the river of Abawi, and came to the land of Selalo, and there he heard that Atu passed to Gojam, and there he left his digging, and hurried 3 days' march in 1 day, and came to the land of Buda, and encamped by the river of Sideh. And the province was saved, and word of glad tidings came to him, that Hadaro, Weli of the Ras Sila Crestos, has vanquished the Galla, and killed many of them. And after this the king journeyed by the way of Chagal and Wendasa, and encamped by the river of Suhua, which is the land of Hara. And the king ordered all the great men of his kingdom and all his soldiers to make an expedition to the land of Shawa against Atu. And the Ras Yamana Crestos said, the Chebsa, and the Gugsa, and all my Wali said, It is not possible for us to make the expedition, therefore we do not have your residence. And the king answered, and said to him, For you remain, and all your Weli will make the expedition. If all my soldiers perish, will your Vali be left alone, and will they be lords in every village? Let your Weli make the expedition with my soldiers. And the Ras Yamana Crestos was proud, and he used pride, because he thought in his heart, that the victory and the expedition of the Galla would not be done without his will and his own consent. And the going of his Vali raised him to himself to speak sounds of pride and arrogance, and said to the king, Speak to the Chebsa and the Gugsa, and say to them, Make the expedition, because he did not know that the king is the image of God in his world, that whom he wants, he honors, and whom he hates, he depresses, etc. impoverishes. In this way, as the message from King Sultan Sagad and Ras Yamana Crestos went back and forth, the business was extended, and the messengers were tired, and the king, recognizing the intimation of the business, and the coming state of all faint-hearted men, as for them, come on those who learned revolt from the Satan of pride, with which he rebelled against God, his creator, removed him from his office, and his office was to be the head of his kingdom under him, which in the language of Arabia is. It is called Vazir, and in the Amhara language it is Betwadad, and called the Ras Sila Crestos, his brother and son of his mother, who was younger than he, a place of humility, and he appointed him in his place, and made him head over all the men of his kingdom. And the king ordered him to make the expedition against Atu with all the soldiers of his kingdom, and the estancia of Atu was then in a land of Mugar, which was called Makawaka. And the Ras Sila Crestos went, and passed the river of Abawi by the way of Baranta, and reached the land of Welika, and after that rose to Dara and Beta Mariam, and leaving his gathering, he descended, having formed the fighting soldiers by their ranks, to Makaweka, and Atu fled, and disappeared from the same place, and left for Mugar's dagger by the road to Barsana, because Tu Waransha told him their march before 3 days of the day of the Virari. But the Ras Sila Crestos, when he did not find the Atu, from Makaweka went out to Egradabit, and there he found the Atu, and the Galla, seeing it, fled from afar, and did not stand before the face of the king's soldiers and before the Fasiledas, and hurried the oxen of him, and his wives, and his children, and slew many toes of her, and they returned to Gojim to the king their lord. And the king, rising from the river of Suhua, encamped in Dobra work, and there he waited for them, doing good to the poor and the poor, petty dema and Dobra work. And after the Fasiledas came, the king arose to go to Dambia, when marching, the feast of the Kabbalah passed sound in the land of Buddha. And after this on the 2nd week he crossed the river of Abawi into the land of Darha, and encamped in a land, which was called Zanzanma. And then a fine powder, neither white nor red, like the color of sulfur, fell from the sky over all the earth and over all people, and it was like fog, and it persisted many days covering the surface of heaven and earth. And the king, after he had celebrated the Sabbath at Zanzanma, arose, and marched as is the usual ordinance of the journey, and he reached the land of Dambia, and entered his Katama of Gorgora, and there remained 2 weeks. Chapter 47. And after this the king arose from Gorgora, and went down to Taquesa, looking as if he were going to bad, and there he stayed 8 days in the same land as Taquesa. And after this the king rose on the first Sabbath day, which precedes the Feast of Palms, and went down the road to Tankal. And after he had made 4 long days' journey, he reached the land of Gunk, and encamped there, and the king sent messengers to call Nail the son of Agub, because before thereupon there was a verbal concert between the king and Nail, son of Agub. And Nail came to the king, and prostrated himself at his feet, and saluted him with a salute of submission, just as it is due to kings, and attended him, and went welly to King Sultan Sagad, and left Erbat, king of Sennar, and the king of kings Sultan Sagad adorned Nail with an armlet of gold, and with a golden zodal, and with a dress, which was made of silk and silver. And after this Nail led him leading to the king, and brought him to the land of Sarki, the comarca of the dominion of the king of the Funj, and having arrived, the king made war with the people of Sarki, and slew many of them, and seized their women and their children, and burned with fire their village, and left them nothing. But the reason for the enmity of King Sultan Sagad and King Bade was for 5 things. First, King Sultan Sagad sent King Bade an armlet of gold, and a saddle which was adorned with gold, and many zelamat, but King Bade did not make him good gifts for his gifts, which he sent for his friendship, but sent him 2 old horses, which had defect in your feet. Second, when Nail reached the land of Dambia, King Sultan Sagad sent a letter to King Bade, saying, "Has this thing been done with your knowledge, or by chance, not knowing it, did Nail devastate my region, and that he took prey from beasts and people?" And King Bade, hearing the speech of King Sultan Sagad's letter, was silent, and did not become angry with Nail, and did not say to him, "Do not do so, and do not offend the region of the kingdom, which is not mine." Third, because Alab, Siam of Mazaga, Vali of King Sultan Sagad, fled from his lord with many horses and with the Nagarat from Mazaga, therefore King Sultan Sagad sent word to King Bade, saying, "Reconcile me with Alab, my Weli, and if not, send me my Nagarat, taking it from the one who came." With this King Bade was silent, he did not reconcile Alab, and he did not send the Nagarat to King Sultan Sagad. Fourth, the people of Chuzan, when the soldiers of King Sultan Sagad beat them by order of their lord, emigrated from their comarca, and entered the land of Sarki, and dwelt with them. And when the people of Sarki oppressed them in every way, and prescribed them, that do not dig graves to bury their corpses, if do not give the price of the burial, when the people of Chuzan wanted to make friends with their lord because of all this tightness of things, and returning to your Cobrand, when they came, they were chased by the same people of Sarki, and they slew many of the people of Chuzan, and they made them leave their wives and their children. Fifthly, when the mother of Yosef, son of Jabera, came to King Sultan Sagad, the same people of Sarki, capturing her, made her stay. For all this the king was displeased, and he received Nail, and made him Vali, promising him many gifts, and devastated the land of Sarki, and destroyed it with mighty destruction. These were the causes of the enmity of the 2 kings, and the cause of the first devastation of the land of Sarki, the comarca of the dominion of the king of Sennar, in the days of King Erbat, after that his father Bade died. And the king returned from Sarki, and journeyed 2 days, and chose a beautiful stream of water and many trees for the shade of the Katama, and he encamped there, because it was the Friday of the crucifixion.